Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. Today I'll be doing another video on my 2000 Ford Explorer, the Exploder. This is a XLT model with the 5.0 V8 all-wheel drive, and I've owned the car for, I want to say 11 or 12 years now, and a lot of the time it's been in various states of repair or project mode. But lately I've been trying to get it together, and I've been driving it the last few months, as have my oldest daughter. And the main reason for that is, you can see here, if you follow my channel, normally I'll have a big Nissan NV 3500 12-passenger van. I've sold that. I bought it 3 years ago and sold it for what I paid for it. So I figured it was time to get rid of that and clear up some space. And so now I drive my Z01 more often, but I also now drive my Explorer, since it is in a nice running state currently, minus the air conditioning, which I'm still struggling with. Now I also have this El Camino here that I'm working on. Hopefully I'll get that thing running in the near future. Check out some videos for that when I get them going. And then my wife's EcoBoost Mustang, which hangs out over here somewhere. And yeah, so real quick video today. Over the weekend, I completed lifting this Explorer. And you know, a few inches, nothing crazy, but I ended up buying some new tires, Yokohama Geolandar ATs, you know, nothing super fancy. And I did go with a larger size. I figured I'm getting new tires, might as well get some bigger tires while I'm at it. And these are 275 70R16s, which is decently larger than the tires that come on this thing. And I had to limp it home because I was getting a lot of curbing of my tire onto my fender. You can see some rub right here. It was not doing great. You can go straight, but as long as you turned it, pretty much it would clip here and then potentially have some issues up here. So I figured, well, why not go ahead and do a $100 lift on this thing, add a few more inches to my car, give me a little bit more ground clearance, and you know, have some fun doing it. So this video, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what I did and what you can do if you have the same style setup, be it a second gen Ford Explorer or other cars with the torsion suspension in the front and leaf springs in the back. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at what we need to do for the front, which is free, to get a couple you know, inch and a half, maybe 2 inches in the front, and then for $100 to lift up the rear about 2 inches or so as well. And that's on top of whatever height you add with your tires. Give you a general idea of the height and clearance. Nothing extreme by any means, but you know, they say every extra couple inches is a good couple inches. Now we'll go over the front real quick, and kind of, if you want to see in relation to where we're at on the car, kind of go down by the mirror, and if you look underneath the car, you have this plate here. And then out of the plate, you see this bar. That's the torsion bar that goes over to the control arm. And real easy to add some height up here simply by adjusting this single bolt, which you can't quite see, but it's right in that little gap right here. There's a bolt that sticks out. It's not the right there. There you go. You can kind of see it right here. It's not the one holding the plate in place. It's the little bolt that's kind of by itself in the center there. And what you want to do is you're going to actually jack up the front of the car. You're going to take off all the weight off these wheels. And then what I actually like to set my jack stand to is, if you see that little kind of hook off the control arm right there, I actually set the car back down on the jack stand on that. You know, I'm not saying that's the optimal method by any means, but that's what I do. And if we go back under here, once you do that, you can actually tighten these bolts to add lift. So tighten to add lift, and then loosen to actually lower your car. So I went ahead and tightened this up. It was sticking out about 1.5 inches from the plate. I tightened them to be about flush with the plate on both sides. Then I took the car off the jack stands, laid it back on the ground, and then measured the distance from the ground through the center cap here to my bottom of my fender, and I actually had a difference between each side. It was like a 1/4 inch different. So what we have to do is jack it back up, put it on the jack stands, repeat the process, tighten or loosen until you get a measurement that's pretty even on each side. Drive it around the block a few times, re-measure. If everything's still good and equal on both sides, you're good. The front end is done, free, a free lift. But now you got that North Carolina lean, a sag, as your lower half of your vehicle is or your back half is lower than the front. So you're actually kind of riding gangster style, which we don't want to do. So we're going to swing around to the back, and I'll show you how to lift the rear end for about $100. Fortunately, not free. I mean, you could make it free or very cheap if you want to use scrap metal, but we're going to use actually these Warrior shackles. I believe they're Warrior 153s, and they're about $100, and we'll add about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches to the rear. Heading over to the rear of the car, and this is a leaf spring vehicle, which means you have these long plates all attached together. These are your leaf springs, and they attach at the end to the shackle right here, which is what this gray thing here on the bottom, the leaf spring attaches, and then on the top up here attaches to your frame. And this is the Warrior shackle in place. But before I put that on there, I had these. The guy before me 10-12 years ago had installed scrap metal, right here and here. You can see the difference in length. So by switching from that scrap metal to these Warrior shackles, I've added, about 2 inches. That is not what should be. That's not the OEM setup. OEM one is kind of similar to that design, but it's going to be some kind of black painted and much uglier shackle, much shorter. And the process for that is you remove the bolt up and lower, tap out those bolts. Could be a pain, might be rusted. Make sure you hit it with a lot of liquid wrench or whatever, maybe a torch if you need to. Bang them out, but make sure you have the weight off of your rear tires, just like the front. So what you're going to do is you're going to lift up the rear. I lifted off the rear differential, and then once I had it up in the air a good ways, I put jack stands on the frame right here on both sides, let it back down onto the ground, and tires are still up in the air, so you had weight off of your springs. Remove the bolts, remove the old shackles, and install these Warrior shackles. Now, it's hard to get that spring. If you look right here, these leaf springs in place, pulled down fit of the larger shackle. So I actually wedged a jack between the frame and the leaf springs and jacked it up. Just pushed the leaf spring down enough to clear the Warrior shackles, and then I bolted it in. And once I did that, removed the jack, and it was good to go. I'll show you some pictures of that, and you could kind of see what I'm talking about. And it worked out pretty good. Drove it around, everything feels good. So there we go. The $100 lift. So it applies to a number of the Ford vehicles, maybe other vehicles that have torsion bars in the front, leaf springs in the rear. But this is how I did it on my second gen Ford Explorer with that setup. And overall, I think it has a pretty decent stance. Getting ready to rain on me, so I'm going to wrap this one up. Hopefully it wasn't too long, and hopefully this may be helpful for you if you want to add a little bit extra height on your car without dropping a lot of money. So as always, thanks for sticking by. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, follow, all that fun stuff. And yeah, I'm going to go flee back inside, and as always, have a good one. Peace.